Hi, this is Kamal, and I'm a co-founder at AccelerateAI. I have more than 2 decades of experience in the industry, specializing in data and AI. I welcome you all to this short video series. We have already spoken about the importance of EDA, Automated Exploratory Data Analysis. In our previous video, we have talked about Pandas profiling library. I can give you a link on the comment. You can go and look into that. On this video series, we want to focus on another library, which is DTale, which is extremely powerful. We'll see how it goes. But just to set the context, let's keep going on the exploratory data analysis from this perspective. As you know, again, the importance of starting from a structured way of analysis, starting from your problems. You have a business problem that you need to solve with the help of data science. You have some data sets with you. And then it follows with the most important data science process, or the CRISP DM process, where we perform iterative experimental approaches to solve a problem and get the outcomes. In the process, we have seen the crucial part of it is around the data exploration, data understanding, feature engineering process, the data preparation, all of that. And that's accounts for approximately 80% of the entire effort that we spend in this entire process, right? So we have seen why auto EDA packages are important. One, it's faster and quicker. Second, it saves time and effort. And then third, it gives you a lot of analysis to play around with the statistical insights, identifying missing values, duplicates, correlation, variable interactions, and so on. However, we see how different packages provide some powerful techniques and then how we can leverage it. Obviously, we would have our own EDA analysis on top of it, but when we get onto a unknown data set, this probably can save a lot of time, and then we can exactly see what DTale offers as a quick demo as part of this session. So let's quickly get on to the Jupyter Notebook, and let me show you what are the features of DTale. So you have, again, when you look at it, this is a sample data set that we are taking, the loan prediction data set from Kaggle. The features, if you look at DTale, fundamentally is a Flask-based backend and React front-end application to bring you an easy view of it. We can leverage some of its powerful features. One of the things that we felt personally very important is the code expert, because whatever features that you are deriving out of it, you also have a code expert that comes up, and you'll be able to use that to customize, to explore some of your different ways of doing it. It also provides three key features that you can look at. One is action, one is visualize, one is highlight. These are consolidated in it. We'll see that in a minute. And eventually, when can we use this? Yes, we can use it for our quick insights. Again, it's not all the auto EDA tools, it is not the solution. Use this as a basis of your EDA, and you have to perform analysis on top of it. You'll have to see then the context of your business data sets, the objectives, how and what actions you will have to do on top of that. But it definitely significantly reduces your time in the EDA process, right? So it also performs and gives you a data exploration in a Excel-based structure in a web, and then we'll see that. So here we have taken the data set, sample data set. You can install DTale package if it's not installed in your environment. Then you have to import it. Then, this is a sample data set. We have looked into the train and test data sets of it. And when you start getting into it, and then this is one single line of code, DTale.show and the train data set. So if I execute it, you'll see how quickly it performs. Of course, it's a smaller data set to demonstrate some of the features, but see how quickly it shows you this kind of a format in this. And then here it shows you 614 rows or the number of records in the data set. These are the 13 columns of the features. And then here, you'll start seeing a lot of these options and features analysis. You can see actions, visualize and highlight. Of course, there are some settings related options that you get, and we'll see one by one. But all of these are consolidated here as well. So when you start the first one, let's say open in the new tab, it opens up a new window or tab, and then you can play around, get a feel of the data. If it's an unknown data set, if we do not know about the columns, the values, then it's probably a good way to visualize it. Of course, it depends on the volume of the data set, how much time it gets to show it. If it's a larger volume, you can take a subset of it, probably a random subset from your data frame, and then can visualize it. It's a quick way to see how the data set represents, where there are null values, missing values, and so on, right? Going back to it, if you start looking into there is some features like convert into an X array. It converts your data frame to an X array by selecting the particular columns that you have as an index, and you can use it for specific purposes. There is something called as describe also. This is again very simple one, but I really like it because it quickly gives you a lot of information in a simple snapshot, where you can go analyze, take a look at it. And if you look at, a lot of information it gives, whether the data types and some of the other values of it, that's fine. You also have the value counts, a lot of these information that are being displayed here. Another important aspect here is the code expert. So if you click on the code expert, you'll be able to see what what is the code that is used to represent this, right? So this gives a greater control for us to analyze, take a look at. We can probably take the code and customize on our own, try to tweak it, try to represent it in a different way. But there is an option where you can use this code expert. So that's the reason I think in DTale, one, it provides a lot of these things described in a detailed manner, plus it gives a lot of these things, the code expert snippets as well, right? Then going back to this, and then if you start looking into something like a custom filter, it gives you an option that you can use for custom filtering, and then apply that to visualize. You can also open it in a new tab. Then you also have another feature about show and hide columns. If the number of columns or features are a lot, and you're really looking at some of the demographic features, some of the product specific features, or specific to certain amount of category of features to analyze, you can probably filter that and set the visibility, and accordingly you can analyze quickly on that, right? So that's another thing that you have to look into. Then then if you look at, you also have something like show or hide columns. We have seen then the data frame functions. If you look at it, this also gives a lot of feature. How do you look into the row difference, the cumulative sum? If you are having a time series data, rolling exponential smoothing, data slope, shifting, a lot of these things that are provided here that we can play with it. Then coming to the next one, you have something like clean column. This is also, I think, is very, very powerful, because when you look at the data sets, the data cleaning process, it gives you a lot of understanding about how do we look at these data sets. Are we going to replace a multi-space versus single space? Are we going to remove the hidden characters? Are we going to replace the hyphens with space? Some of these are predefined here, so that we can leverage this. Of course, the drop stop words, analytical stop words, and all that is more relevant from a text analytics standpoint. However, if you look at some of the other aspects of it, repeated words, it's try to give a very comprehensive set of options. In addition to that, of course, you would have a lot of your data cleaning options that you can use, but it gives you an instant way to think about on an unknown data set, might be very useful. Then moving on, you have something like merge and stack, and obviously you can you can look at merging and stacking based on how you use it, and you can leverage that accordingly. You also have summarized data. So when we look at summarizing the data, obviously we'll have to select rows, columns, and accordingly we can summarize whether we want to do aggregation and things like that. So it's very simple feature, but that is a way to select from a UI-based approach and do it. Then you have time series. If it's a time series, then it resamples, then duplicates, you can perform, whether it's removing the column level duplicates, or the column names, or just the rows, or showing the duplicates. A lot of these things that we can select in a column and then see. So for example, if we go and try to see, is there anything in the loan amount, then maybe it'll show. So similarly, some of the similar columns and the values that also can be showcased. Then moving on, you have a lot of these other features like missing analysis, feature analysis, correlations. See, if you look at the feature missing analysis, you would have seen in the pandas profiling, this also gives the matrix, bar, heat cam, dendrogram, heat map, a lot of these things that it provides, which we can also download in a PNG file format, and can see it from here as well, right? So that's another powerful feature, so that we can actionize what missing value that we need to handle, what outliers that we need to handle. Another thing is about feature analysis by correlation. It gives you a reflection of what are the key columns, how they are correlated, and if it's a correlation more than closer to one, they're very powerfully correlated, you may want to drop them or remove them based on this analysis. If they are not much related, then you'll have a lower score. You'll have to see how to actionize on them, but it gives a quick analysis of that here. Then moving on, we looked at the feature analysis. Then there is, of course, the correlations. This is again, it instantly gives the Pearson correlation metrics. Another key thing that you'd see some of the parameters, how they are correlated. But if you also look at the code expert, it gives you the code snippet, which essentially you can use it and customize or modify up to your needs, your requirements, and then play with it. The key, that's where you see most of the important features, functionalities. It gives you an option of code expert, and where you can go back and perform your EDA much better and faster way, right? There is also something called as predictive power score, or PPS. It can detect whether you have a linear or non-linear relationship between features, between columns that you have. 0 is like absolutely no predictive power. 1, perfect predictive power, and you can use it for certain analysis in your scenario. So here probably mostly they're all towards 0. That's what it shows in some of these numerical values that it shows. But based on your data set, this can probably give you a huge value. Then of course your charts, and when you click on it, obviously it gives you can play around with it. Let's say in x-axis you want to take your applicant income, and y-axis you want to select the loan amount, and immediately it gives you a line chart, let's say. And if you want to see the bar chart, or let's say scatter chart, which is more appropriate, then loan amount by applicant income, that's how it is represented in this manner. Obviously, based on the data, what is the objective that you have? You also would have a word cloud. Word cloud would not mean necessary to this kind of a data set, because we have a different type of objective here. But maybe from a text classification, text analytics standpoint, that may be useful. You can look at heat map and other options also. But here, for our data set, if scatter plot is going to be much more powerful and relevant, then we can use it accordingly. But what you have to see is the ease of getting these things represented, and then how beautifully you can take a look at it and analyze things faster, or explore things faster. Then going back to the other options, you also have, highlight D types, highlight missing values. So the moment you click on highlight missing values, then you could see, these are your columns and rows where the values are NaN, which is missing values, and it highlights them. So you would have an idea about which all, quick viewpoint and reflections of which rows in which column that have missing values, right? That's also going to be helpful in interpreting these things. Same is about highlight outliers, highlight range. You have the instances, code expert. Again, the way it is represented here, you can kind of look into a code expert to take this and then use your analysis, change this, and perform your EDA on top of that. So that's pretty much it. And then you have some of the settings related stuff that you can use here as well. And whatever we have gone through and then looked into, if you go to actions, it's pretty much the same thing, but you'd see that's kind of structured into three different categories. What are the actions that we're taking with our data set? What are the visualization part that we are trying to analyze, and the highlight ones? You have seen how we have highlighted the missing values, the outlier treatments, or the outliers that are there, so that you can treat those outliers effectively better. So if I were to really summarize this, right, one key thing is that DTale is very detailed. It gives you a lot of, if you see a lot of actions, the visualizations and the highlighting aspect of it, it's very detailed. And then it's just one line of code. As you see DTale, you have the library installed, DTale.show your trained data set, you'll be able to analyze quickly. Second, you'll have to really look at it that, it also gives you that power of code expert. So whenever you want to use that code and then analyze, tweak, and then write and update or modify and want to view on your own, you can go back to your Jupyter notebook and play with that. That also gives an action. So third, this is something, it gives you a lot of information and you can actionize it, because the power of AutoEDA is not about doing the entire thing on its own. It gives you the initial analysis to help you actionize which all, based on the predictive power that we have seen, based on the missing values that we are seeing, are we going to take actions? So what are we going to do for the missing value treatment? What are we going to do for the outlier treatment? So the actions we will take based on this analysis, but this is quick and saves a lot of time, and it's much more detailed as well, right? And it all depends on the volume of the data set also. If it's large volume, then probably that is not advisable, but from a lower set of volume data sets, you would be able to use it. I think that's pretty much that we wanted to cover. And please let me know if you have any feedback or questions or things like that. Here are our coordinates. You can always reach out to us. And thank you so much. I appreciate your time here.